right, we're here at the Ace Cafe again for Porsche night, so we want to welcome everybody out. And we've got an awesome group of cars out front. A lot of people have come out this week. We had a little rain this afternoon, but it didn't scare anybody away. We got an awesome group of cars out front. And we got two great guests tonight joining us to tell us about their Porsche passion, their cars, you know, all kinds of cool stuff. And we're going to kick off tonight with Mark Peebles. So, Mark, you know, thanks so much for coming on the show with us.
Well, thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's going to be, I think we're going to have some fun with this.
Hope so.
Right? Okay. So
Never had a bad time with a Porsche.
That's right. You can never have a bad time with Porsche.
Yeah, you can say that.
You know, it's all about, as we say in the Porsche Club, it's all about the people, right?
Yeah, exactly. It is.
That's what it's all about.
It is.
So we're going to talk a little bit tonight about how the heck this thing showed up behind us here, because I know this is kind of a cool deal. But before we get there, okay, I want to talk a little bit about where it all started for Porsche with you, because everybody's got their Porsche story, you know, when they got started.
Yeah.
So what was your first memory or first recollection of you being interested or fascinated or whatever with Porsche?
I think it's in high school. Went all the way back to there, and I hate to tell you that was in the 60s. But a friend of mine said something about he always wanted to have a 356 Porsche, and I go, what the hell's that? Okay. And I was already into Volkswagens, so I started looking them up. I go, that's pretty nice. Okay, so I started, I went in the military, and I was racing an autocross, a Volkswagen, okay, when they came out with the Hirsch shifter and all that stuff. Then when I got out of the, graduated, and I decided I wanted a Porsche, but that was when they were having all the chain tensioner problems, you know, it scared the hell out of me back in the 70s. So I ended up buying a 912 Targa soft window.
Oh, my gosh.
And then I wanted it restored, and this was, 74 it was. And so I took it to a guy, and he did it in lead. Okay?
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, because back then Bondo was a little shaky, so we did it in lead, and we had 30 coats of hand-rub lacquer on it. Okay, it was a gorgeous car. And I redid the top and the soft window and all that stuff. So I had that till I moved down here when I needed air conditioning. So ended up buying a 911 SC Euro 83.
So it started with the 912 soft window. So for folks who aren't familiar with what we're talking about, the Targa was kind of a really special car that gave you the combination of have a closed roof but also having an open top roof.
Yeah.
And I actually my wife and I own a 1989 911 Targa.
But then mine back window zipped out.
But the back window came off also, so it was like this vinyl deal that snapped out.
Yeah.
It was just really cool, right?
Yeah, and it had a tonneau cover and all that stuff.
Yeah, so super cool stuff. And these cars, you know, today are worth just
don't tell me that. I don't
huge money today. We all Mark, don't worry about that for a second, right? Every Porsche guy who's owned a number of cars has that story about the one that they wish they didn't let get away, right?
Yeah, Jay Leno's the only one I know that still has every car he ever owned.
Is there one like that for you? Is there, because you've owned, how many have you owned?
Oh, I don't know. I'd have to count a bunch.
Over a dozen?
Probably close to that, counting the 356s I had, and I got into those for a while. And then the SC, and then a 993. And then the Carrera S that I just got rid of that you stole from me, and then bought the T. And I think the T is a neat car. It really is. It's unique. Porsche came out with something really cool.
Yeah.
For us enthusiasts.
Yeah, it is. It is super cool.
Yeah.
So, what year was that when you got the 912?
1974.
1974.
I think I sold it in 86 or 87.
Wow, so you held on to
it for
quite a long time.
Yeah, and I'd rebuilt the engine, I'd rebuilt everything on it, and it was, I had still sold Lexus, and I had them sent out to California because back in the old days, that's the only one guy in the world that could do the throttle bodies on those things, so I did that. It was super
So you're one of the guys, you're a Porsche guy, but I mean, you're to the core with Porsche, because not only do you love owning them, you love driving them, and not just on the street. You take them to the track.
Right. Yep.
And I'm hearing you say that you love to work on them, too. You do
a
lot of your own work.
Yeah, and unfortunately, that's the only car I know how to work on, so I sort of have to stay with the marquee. But yeah, it's a car I understand, until we get to the new ones.
Now, was Porsche the first car that you worked on, or did you learn how to work on cars
No,
before
I had
that?
Volkswagens, and I was souping them up, and doing a lot of that. And then I got into BMW 2002s. Remember the old 2002?
Oh, yeah.
Fabulous car.
I had a roommate in college who had a BMW. I had my 914 in college, and one of my roommates had a 2002 BMW.
Yeah, I know when the 914 came out, and I had the BMW, and I looked at it hard, but at that time I just thought that was a cooler car. And so I had those, and then stayed with Porsche the rest of the time.
So you learned on Volkswagen.
Yep.
This is another common thread with
and
Porsche
then 356s.
guys. They sort of start,
Yep.
with Volkswagen and sort of progress and move their way up it. What was the first thing that you worked on a Volkswagen? Do you remember?
Good question. Carburetors. I think I put the bug spray carburetor on it. Remember the bug spray? And a Hirsch shifter.
Oh, a Hirsch shifter on it. I do remember those.
Yeah.
I had a buddy in high school whose dad worked for the city in the little town of Cape Coral that we lived in Southwest Florida. His dad worked for the city. The city had this fleet of Volkswagens, right?
Really?
That they use for whatever, I don't know, surveyors or whatever, inspectors or whatever. And there came a time where they wanted to sell all of them. So this one summer, they sold off this fleet of Volkswagens.
Oh, my God.
Well, my buddy bought one.
Yeah.
It was kind of like an auction.
Yeah.
And he hot rodded the thing up. They painted it this beautiful, almost like the sapphire blue that you see today.
Yeah.
He put the Hirsch shifter in it. He put like the Krager type wheels on it.
I did that too.
And all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So that's sort of where it all starts. It sort of gets in you. You start to, I don't know, tinker, play around a little bit, and you become self-taught, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Like you didn't go to school to learn this stuff.
No, points. Okay, when you had to set points and the gap and all that, I had to learn how to do that. I had to buy those tools and everything. Then I got into, when I had the 2002, McPherson strut front ends.
Oh.
Remember, Midas was the only people that did anything, and they wouldn't touch a foreign car. They literally had a sign there, "We do not work on foreign cars." So I ended up getting a set of spring compressors from Snap-on. God, back in then, I think was even a hell of a lot of money. But then I started doing everybody's McPherson struts.
Wow. So that makes it that much more fun, right? When you have a car that you love, you love driving it, and for I think guys like you and me, we want to have our hand on it.
Yeah.
We want to know we can take care of it. Sometimes there's stuff that are way beyond our capabilities, and we dive in anyways, and we try to,
I've
take
been
care
there.
of it, right?
Yeah.
And you try to get there, and then you get to a point where you're like, oh man, I'm done. I need help, right? And you got to send out the SOS flag and bring people in to help you out, but there's always someone there.
Oh yeah, well, I've been lucky that my son's a Porsche tech now, so when it gets to the new stuff, he helps a lot because I have no idea how some of that stuff works. But the carburetors, I think I'm one of the few guys probably still balance a carburetor. I've got all the tools still. I don't know what I'm ever going to do with them, but
well, they're probably worth a lot of money today.
I guess, as long as you got a carburetor.
So that sort of took you into the 80s. Then you started to get involved in 911s. When did you start this? I don't know if it was an obsession, if that's too strong of a word, but you spent a lot of time on the track.
Yeah.
With Porsche. You didn't race professionally,
no.
But you did a lot of amateur stuff. You've had a lot of fun. You've had some pretty cool successes.
Right.
Why don't we talk about that a little bit? Where did all that start?
What happened was I moved down here in '86 and ran into Northam, and I had been president in every office up in Ohio, at Ohio Valley region. And he said, well, you need to be president of our region. I go, I don't know a soul down here. So a couple years later, I did take over the presidency, and the vice president, Frank Geico, I think his name was, said, we need to do driver's ed. And I go, well, that's great, but I don't know anything about it. He said, well, there's a guy over in Cimarron named Ron Zitza that's taken a bunch of his buddies and doing that. So I went over and talked to him, and he goes, yeah, I do it. And he said, but I don't know how to organize. I said, well, I can organize. So we set up our first driver's ed up in Roebling Road. Atlanta region didn't want to do it down there anymore. They just wanted to stay at Road Atlanta. And they came down and showed us how to do it. And so Ron and I ran that for 12 years. $99 and 60 cars we had, and I thought that was more money and cars that I could ever handle. Now we're up to 120 or 30 or something like that.
That's such a great story. We had Ron on with us last year. Early, we had a lot of great conversation with Ron and of course about his dad, as you know, Haro.
Yeah. Haro was a great guy.
Just a fantastic Porsche guy, and we sort of talked through all their history. So that's kind of neat that there's a linkage
Yeah,
with you
goes
and
way back,
and
we
Ron.
did that for a long time, and then I ended up buying a 914 race car, okay, for pretty cheap money. And I go, okay, it's nothing but a Type 4 Volkswagen engine. So we started that way, and I ran that in SCCA for a while, and then got out of that and went into Porsche Club racing. And
So did you race that car at
Yeah.
Daytona one year?
yes, a couple years, yeah.
Okay, so what was like one of the crowning achievements with that 914?
Well, I was
it was
third
an
on the
orange
grid out of
914
65. I thought that was pretty good. And
Third out of 65
Yeah.
at Daytona.
yeah, at Daytona.
So you're racing up on the high banks of Daytona
Oh, yeah. With
in the
and
car that you prepared.
I'd cut the windshield off because that was worth 300 RPM down the straightaway.
Oh my gosh!
And it was just a little four-cylinder, and but we had a good time with it. And then I went into F Prod. Okay, that was a little tougher, and then we started building bigger engines. Okay, then I was getting a lot more horsepower, and of course, more horsepower, the less reliable they got. I had that problems, but I learned
Sure.
that way, and then switched to the 944 after that when the 944 Cup came out.
Okay, so you mentioned Northam. He raced a lot with the 944s as well. Did you guys actually race against
he
each
was
other
a little
at
late
that time?
getting into that. He was racing more of his 911 back then, and then got into the 944s. He's a pretty darn good driver.
Yeah, he became a national champion in 944
yeah,
Cup.
he did. Yeah,
Yeah,
he did.
So
And-
did you ever beat him in a 944?
No, when he got into it deeply, I was in the Boxster by then.
Oh, okay, so you had graduated.
But I helped him because he comes over to me at Daytona. He says, "Okay, I need to draft you for qualifying." Okay, so he said, "I'm going to be on your right side. I'm going to be about 6 inches off your rear. That's where it's best." And sure enough, he knocked a second and a half off his time.
So this is
just
like
drafting.
This is like hearing the guys who only turn left making deals on pit road in
Yeah.
NASCAR, right?
Yeah, that's
this
what
is
he
what
did
North
with
was
me.
doing.
Yeah, it worked for him. That's the year I think he took the championship. So I figured I had a little bit of
Oh wow, that's awesome.
input into that. But
Super
yeah.
fun. So you how many years did you actually race in, I guess, club racing and all
Oh
these different
gosh, I
things?
think I got my rating in '95, so it's been 20 some years. Yeah.
Wow.
I just sort of semi-retired this year. I did Daytona with the Boxster, but now I'm thinking maybe this is the second time I retired, so I don't know if I'll go back. I may do some driver's ed.
So when you say retired, you retired from racing.
Yeah.
But so what was your day job? What
I was
what did you-
I was a pilot for Darden Restaurants here
Oh
in
really?
town. Yeah.
So private pilot?
Yeah,
Or
for
for
them,
corporate
yeah.
pilot?
Corporate pilot, and so I had a lot of time off, and unfortunately I had a lot of time off, but not the money for the time that I had. All my buddies were jealous. I'd be working. That's the reason. One of the reasons I raced, I could work on my car all day. If I was in the middle of the week, I didn't have a flight. Wouldn't have to go in the office or do anything. My buddies would get jealous, but I didn't have the money to have fancier race cars, so it was always the ones you could walk away from if you totaled it. I had some minor wrecks, nothing really bad, I don't think.
So
I do my own body work too, so.
wow, so you did the mechanical work, you
Had
did the
to.
body work. Yeah, it's survival, right?
Yeah, 'cause it's expensive for it.
So, you talk to people who are crazy about Porsche. Sometimes they get involved in these different aspects of the Porsche Club. We've got a lot of people out here tonight from the Porsche Club. What advice do you give to people, or would you give to someone who says, you know what, I've got my Porsche. I'd like to do a little bit more with it. I don't want to go crazy on the street.
Yeah.
What would be like some of the...
Well, I'd say,
they're just
come
coming
to
through.
activities like this to begin with, to meet people, and then start coming to our autocrosses to see how that works. It's a really minor...
So what are you talking about autocross? So what happens at an autocross?
We have a series of autocross, and they're usually done up in Tavares, up at the police training range up there. It's a big parking lot. We set up pylons, and basically you drive through it. It'll last anywhere from 45 to a minute, okay, and that's all. You do 5 or 6 runs a day. It's all Porsches. So we do have some other guys come by, but we let them. But yeah, it's neat, and you learn how to handle the car, at its limits. And then if you want to go into driver's ed, we've got a school coming in September here as far as a learning thing, so you get to ask questions and all that. And then our event is 12th and 13th of October.
Okay.
And we also have an instructor school before that. Ron and I started that too. We wanted our instructors to be good, but we didn't have any training, so he and I started an instructor school years and years ago. and then National adopted most of our stuff.
Wow. So you
yeah.
guys were sort of the I don't know, the trailblazers for
We
that
were.
with the Porsche Club.
Yeah.
Right here in Florida.
Right here in Florida, right
Right
up
here
here
in
in Old
Central
Roebling
Florida,
Road.
right at Florida Citrus region.
Yeah.
In
we
Florida.
think we did a good job, you know.
Well, that's pretty cool
We've
stuff.
been
So
doing it a long
when you
time.
talk about autocross, and now you're racing against time, you're not
Right.
racing against
This
other
time,
cars
right.
at the same time.
Yeah,
you're just
very
racing
safe.
against time.
You know, and I've never seen anybody hurt a car or anything else. They might have hit a pylon, have to take a rubber mark off the side of their car, but that's about it. It's a great way to learn, you know, what Porsches are. You know,
Yeah,
I've
well,
always said if you don't do an autocross or DE, you paid a lot of money for just driving on the street. You know, it's not what they're for.
Right. Well, cool. So maybe we fast forward. We talked through a lot of the history of Porsche. You sort of got started with Volkswagens at a very young age. You know, Porsche started for me at like age 9.
No, I don't think I was quite. I couldn't spell Porsche back then.
And I just saw the 917. I think I've talked about this before on other shows, but it just fascinated me, the shape of the car and everything. So, you know, those are the early days.
Yeah.
And now when you fast forward, and you know, how did you end up making a decision to think about this beautiful car that we got behind us? This
Well, it's partially your fault.
I know. Okay.
for being at work that
but
day.
how did, okay. But what made you think about doing it? What was really the impetus
I was
behind
telling the guy
getting a brand new one?
upstairs that I went to Zone Fest, and they had a beautiful Concours there at the Howie in the Hills. And I'm looking at all these cars, and they're 1, 2, and 3 years old and gorgeous looking. And I go, well, mine's good looking. And then I start adding up the years, and it's 13 years old. It's an 06, which I thought was a couple years old.
Time flies.
Yeah, maybe I'll have to. So I started looking around, but I wanted something different because my car was, and so I went down to the Mercedes dealer right around the corner from me. Had a ruby red one. I didn't like it, but I said, "Well, wait a minute. I met Brian. I'll just go around the corner." And of course, you showed me these used cars at $150,000, $200,000. You know, I go, well, you know. And then you pointed out that, well, we got this one here. It's a T. And I go, what the hell's a T? I thought it was the touring one, like
like the GT3 Touring.
Yeah, because that's the only one I'd heard about that my good friend Dave Edwards bought.
Okay.
So I'm thinking, oh, I don't like that. And then you start telling me about it, and it turns out exactly what I wanted. It's a good enthusiast car at a really good price. You know, it's got the things you can't get on some of the Carreras. And I didn't want an S, so I didn't need it. You know, I'm done with the horsepower deal. So
that was it. So it was just, there was a moment where sort of a switch went off, and you saw these other cars, and you were like, oh my gosh, my car is 13 years old.
Yeah, and I swear to that day, if you would have asked me, I'd say it's 5 or 6. You know, they all look alike. You know, everybody tells you that.
Right. So
Then to have a white one, now my neighbors don't even know I got it.
yeah, so it happens.
Yeah.
Time flies. We
It
get
does.
older. We lose track of time.
Yeah.
We're enjoying ourselves.
Yeah.
And that's what's important, right?
And of course, I said this is the last Porsche I'll ever own, and I said that 5 or 6 other times. So you know,
Yeah.
we'll see. You know.
Well, we'll see, right?
Yeah, who knows what'll happen? You know.
Well, I'm really happy that that you got the car.
Yeah, I guess you are.
And that you really enjoy it. You know,
I do.
That really.
I enjoy every Porsche I ever did. You know, I do a lot of teaching and with the high speed. You know, with the DEs, and I love that too. I love to take the guys. I like to take the guys in the 944s, okay, because that's what I've rode for 12 years. I drove those, and to get the speed out of them for these guys, you know, they think that they're going fast, and I go, oh boy, you don't have no idea.
You have no idea.
You have no idea.
Yeah. I'm going to make you cry for your mom.
Yeah, I had one guy. He comes out. He goes, I checked him out from into solo, and we did 3 laps, and the guy did a beautiful job. And I said, give me 2 more laps, okay? So we went out, and I said, you do everything I tell you to do when I tell you to do it, okay? And we went around there. He said, I've never gone so frickin' fast in my life. And we were flat out, you know, through 8, 9, and all that into 1, and late braking. And I go, see what this car will do?
Yeah, see, you can have fun.
Somebody has to show it to you.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
That's
Well, that's great. Well, you know, I want to, first of all, again, say thanks for coming out.
Well, thanks for
sharing
having
some
me.
of these stories with us. But I think maybe for the larger community, you know, you've been here for a long time. You made a lot of friends, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes you have to step back and think about, you know, what's the impact that you've made, you know, on people as you've talked to them, you've helped them through these things, and you really can't measure it.
No,
and,
you can't.
You know, so for whatever it's worth, you know, thanks for helping all those people along the way and sort of keeping the Porsche Brotherhood, you know, going and having a great time.
It's been my life, yeah. It's
so
all Porsches.
you know, let's keep it rolling. You got a great one to keep it going on with.
Yeah, I think so. Thanks to that salesman that took my car away from me.
Well, again, thanks so much for coming out. And,
Okay, thanks.
And I'm not going to make any promises that this is going to be your last one, okay?
Oh, no, please do. I need that. I need to think that this is it.
All right, so we're going to have you pull the car out because we got another
Yep,
guest,
okay.
Another victim to
Another
bring in
victim, okay.
and talk about their Porsche.
Well, thanks
so we're
for
going to do
having
a
me.
little set change, but thanks so
Okay,
much.
well, thank
it's
you.
a real pleasure to have you out.
Okay, great.
And,
Thank you.
You know, we're going to move on to the next segment of this
Okay.
show and have some more fun.
Okay, great.
All right,
Thanks.
guys. So we're going to bring on Nancy Burgos now. I don't know where Nancy is. Nancy, are you close by? Is she anywhere? We're gonna get a PCA update. Wow, she's got to be here somewhere. And we're going to talk a little bit about some updates, some goings on with the club that are really pretty cool. They're coming up in the summer months, and so just bear with us a minute. We're going to bring her on with us, and we'll be right back in a second.
Hello, everybody.
So tell everybody, Nancy, what you do for the Porsche Club here, the Florida Citrus region,
Okay.
right?
Yes.
I got it right, didn't I?
You got
I
that
should know
correct.
this.
Yes.
So
I
what do you do for the club?
I am the secretary of our Florida Citrus Region PCA. Basically, I handle multiple things with the club. It's all volunteer. It's all about the people, not the cars, it's the people. And well, I promote a lot of our social events with the club, as well as the driving events we have coming up. We already have posted our fall schedule for autocross.
Well, cool. Well, I've got to press pause because what's supposed to be happening right now
Yeah.
behind us is this car is supposed to be leaving
Leaving.
here, and then we're supposed to be rolling in another car. So, yeah. So
Of course.
So we got to press pause, and then we'll use this conversation to be the filler between moving this car out and moving the next one in.
Sounds like
you
a
see,
plan.
It's live. It's a live show, so we just got to roll with it.
There you go.
All right.
It's all
So
live.
we got to find Mark now
Let's
because he
move
just
the
sort of
car.
took off.
I'll get the key and I'll
Here
move
he
it.
is, right here.
Okay, Mark, move your car, please.
Well-
Please and thank you.
We're gonna do another break. We'll just going. We got a 911 rolling out of here. We're gonna
As
roll
you
another
know,
one in.
and as you know, Mark Peoples is an experienced driving
Yeah, he
instructor.
can handle this.
He's awesome.
Yeah, he can handle it.
He can. Yeah. Look at that go.
All right, so let's carry on. Maybe we'll just
Okay, let's carry
we'll
on.
Just,
Let's do this now.
We'll talk about some of the things that are going on with the club here.
Well, we have another
So we
car
got
coming
some local things happening,
Yes, that is
as
correct.
well as some bigger things going on this summer in Florida,
well,
right?
bigger PCA nationwide is the Porsche Parade. It is happening in Boca Raton. That is this coming weekend. It is completely sold out, but it's going to be a lot of fun.
So it's this weekend.
Yes.
So what's the first day?
I believe it starts Thursday
Starts Thursday and
Yes.
rolls until
until Sunday.
Sunday.
So it's about 4 days of all pure Porsche goodness.
So, for folks that are listening in who maybe aren't familiar with what Porsche Parade is, can you give us a little idea of what that's all about?
Well, I've never participated in one, sadly. I would like to go to one, but I've heard it's a lot of fun, like in terms of there's a concours, but it's like not your normal concours. There's all these rules to it, of course. And then you have your rally drive, and of course there's a parade itself. So, and amongst other events, or activities within the weekend.
So a lot different than a lot of the local events because it's running for a much longer time.
Exactly.
Right,
And this
and-
is something that's nationwide announced. So
Right,
it's
so-
everybody from all over the nation
Right.
is coming
So
down
it's
to
not just
Florida.
people here in Central Florida, but
Correct.
people literally come from across the country.
That's right.
They're bringing their cars.
Mhm.
They drive in their cars. Do they trailer
Ship
cars in?
it,
They do all that stuff.
Train it down or wherever they get it here, and they go down to Boca Raton. They're wow, it kind of looks
we
like
got
my
another
car.
hot rod coming in right here.
Beautiful red. And the host hotel is the Waldorf Astoria. So that's where everybody's going to be at for that
Wow.
weekend of parade.
So this is going to be a lot of fun.
It should be. Yes.
All right. So what are some of the local things going on with the club?
Locally with Florida Citrus, we have our schedule for autocross. As you know, autocross is a fun event. You can go on a very safe course. It's all designed with cones.
Yep.
And it's basically you're competing against yourself. Beat your own time
Yeah,
going
Mark
around
was
the course.
talking about that. He said that
It is a ton of
it's
fun.
completely safe and you can have a great time.
Yep.
You're not racing against a car. You don't have to
Yep.
worry about damaging your car or
It
anything.
would, no, cones would not hurt your car. So,
Oh, cool. So that's coming up on what's the date on that?
so we have that going on. It's up in Tavares at the Lake County Sheriff's Training Facility up in Tavares. September 22nd is the first autocross for the fall season, and then after that is Oktoberfest in Daytona, and we'll have autocross there on October 26th.
Okay, so I know, is it German Excellence that is the
German Ex-
sponsor
yes,
of the
they
autocross
are.
series?
Mhm.
So I know that they've been on the show with us before,
Yes, they're
or some
great.
of their customers have been on with us. So that's a great supporter of
Absolutely,
the autocross
yes.
series. And then you said, what was the other event that happens up at Daytona? You said
It's
Oktoberfest?
Oktoberfest, which is advanced driver's education as well, and it's a club race at the same time.
So this is at the Speedway.
All this is
the
happening
same
at the
track,
same time.
The same
Yes.
track that they run the 24-hour, the
Correct.
Rolex 24 at?
Correct, yes.
So there's going to be people in the club racing their cars on the same track as the
Exactly.
Rolex 24.
And then the autocross will be inside in the infield at the go-kart track.
Okay,
So
awesome.
you have all this going on at the same time. This is going to be a lot of fun.
Okay, so that
Perfect.
brings us through to October, and then how do we
Then
wind
no-
up the year?
And then November 10th, we have again autocross in Tavares, and that will wrap up the year.
Wow, so that'll be it.
That will
and
be
then
it
it's
for
just time to
2019.
celebrate and
Correct.
have a good time and start it all over again in January.
There you go.
Well, thanks for coming on with
Well,
us. You're
thank
not
you.
a stranger to the show. I know we had you on and talking about your car,
Yes.
and having a great time. So thanks for coming on, giving us some PCA updates. We really appreciate
Absolutely.
that.
You're welcome.
All right, cool.
Right.
All right, so Nancy did a great job for us, and I think we're going to bring in our next guest now. We had this other car pull in behind us, and it's a very special car with a couple of special folks. So bear with us here just a minute. We're going to bring them in and get things teed up for our next segment. And I guess we need one more chair down here, John. Yeah, so we'll bring these folks in and have some fun. So is Diana? Yeah, bring her down. Let's go. Let's do it. You good? All right. So you see what rolled in behind us here is a very special Porsche, and we have two special folks joining us.
Thanks for having
Mark
us,
and
Brian.
Diana Kessler.
That's
So
right.
welcome to our little show here, guys. Thanks for saying yes, for coming on and
Absolutely, our pleasure.
sharing your car with us, and hopefully we're going to learn a little bit more about how you guys got involved in this Porsche thing.
You bet.
Right?
You bet.
So I'm sorry we got to pass a mic between the two of you here.
We'll
but,
let the pretty lady talk first. Is that okay?
Okay, yeah,
Okay,
that's
here we
good.
go.
Because I can see there's something in her eye she wants to tell me. And I don't know what it is yet, but we're going to have some fun doing it. So how did it all start for you, Dana? How did you get involved in Porsche? What's your first memory of Porsche?
My first memory starts at a very young age. I've always been intrigued by the Porsche cars, the models, and my goal was for my first car to be a Porsche. I wanted a 911, but I couldn't quite get that because I wanted to get it with my own money that I'd earned working. And so I said, okay, well, I can't get a 911, but I'll get a 944. So that was my first Porsche. I was 16 and was very excited to get it. And it was champagne with black interior, and it was a great first car. It was a manual, and I remember my dad's like, well, you got to learn how to drive it. And I said, okay. So my dad's an engineer, and he was like, you've got to listen to the engine. He wasn't quite giving me like the easy way to learn how to drive a manual. So my next door neighbor was really into cars too, and he's like, let's go see your car. And I was like, yeah. I was like, but it sucks. I don't know how to drive this thing. And he's like, oh, all you have to do is do this. Anyway, next thing you know, it was easy, and was having fun with my new car, and was really excited to have my
So how long
944.
did you own this 944?
Not long.
You,
But I got another the one after that one. So I had it for about, I don't know, 4 to 5 months. And then I got a black one after that one.
Well, Nancy, who was just on before, I don't know if you saw her, but she's a club member with the PCA, and she does a lot of cool things. I believe her first Porsche was a 944 as
Oh,
well. So
really?
you guys have something in common.
We
Maybe you
do.
didn't realize. You know Nancy?
I don't know her, and I would love to meet her.
You guys will have to
Yeah.
you'll have to talk about your first Porsche
Great.
stories.
Yeah, I would love
So that's cool. So, 16 years old, first Porsche.
First car. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Now my first Porsche came 1983, and I was 18.
Okay.
So and it was a 914 for me. So that
It was a really great car to have, and I was happy to have it at such a young age too. So.
all right. So it started at 16, and you were just off to the races after that. So what are you driving these days?
I'm driving a white GT3.
Wait, you can say that louder.
A white GT3.
A white GT3. So
Yeah.
what year is this GT3?
2018.
2018 GT3. Are you kidding me? Unbelievable.
It's my dream car.
Well, hey, that's
I don't
what.
want anything else. It's my dream car. So
Favorite color, Brian?
Okay, what's your favorite color?
white.
Okay, so you got it. That was
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So you're living the dream in the GT3.
Yeah.
Okay, how long have you had this car?
A year and a half.
We got it in January of 2018.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So January 2018. So what's your best memory so far with this car?
Well, when we picked it up, that was really fun. Hurley Haywood signed the inside of the hood, and that was
He
really
did.
fun. He did,
Wow,
yeah.
that's
so that
pretty
was
cool.
really cool. Yeah, he's a great guy. Actually,
Oh, yeah.
Mark and I met him. The first time was at the.
Birmingham Barber Motorsports. He taught us in the Porsche Masters Plus class.
Oh, very cool. All right. So it was just that first day. Well, that's great to hear. That sort of
Yeah.
warms my heart.
Well,
you know.
it's the excitement of getting it. We built the car together. Mark and I did, and to finally see it, and just the whole emotion of it was just
Yeah.
an awesome
Isn't that
day.
something?
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
special time, right?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right. So Mark, where did Porsche start for you? This is a Porsche partnership here, right? So this goes pretty deep to 16. Did she beat you with the first Porsche?
She definitely beat me.
Nice.
My first car was an SUV. I was always an SUV guy. But my first experience was Porsche. Was when my dad ordered one, went to the factory with a group of about 40 guys. It was a 964 Guards Red Carrera 4 Cabriolet with the beige camel interior.
Nice.
So my dad got that in 1989. It was a 1990. And let's just say I did a little bit of joyriding in that in high school, right? We did a little bit of. I don't think my dad's watching, so it's okay. But literally,
So he beat me to it.
yeah. But we actually picked it up in Germany.
No kidding. So you
We
did a
picked it up
German
in Germany.
delivery.
We were living in Europe at the time, so we picked it up in Germany, did the Porsche factory experience. And at the time, I was 16, so I was 16 as well. Now in Europe, you have to be 18 to have a driver's license. Let's just say I was 16 and doing some driving through the Alps of Europe. So I was extremely lucky to have that experience. And I just learned to drive a stick shift on a Peugeot 309, which is a Peugeot 309. That's the only stick I'd driven before driving this Carrera 4.
Wow.
So anyway, I have a lot of memories in that car. And Dad and I did a lot of trips in that. And actually this weekend, tomorrow morning, this car is leaving at 6:30, getting shipped to the Blue Ridge Mountains up in North Georgia. And I will be up there this weekend with my dad, kind of reliving some memories of childhood.
Oh,
So,
well, that's great. I
yeah.
know. So this isn't the first time that you've headed up to North Carolina. Is it North Carolina?
well, Georgia, North Carolina.
Georgia, North
yeah,
Carolina.
right there
So
on
it's
the
not
border.
the first time that
Right.
you've gone up there. So tell me a little bit about this group. I've heard a little bit about this.
Yeah,
What can you tell me? What's the name of the group, and what do you guys do, and
right.
all that kind of stuff?
It's a group I actually found just by, you kind of follow these rabbit holes on Instagram, a picture and like this picture, and found out there's a group out there called Smokey's GT. I went to their website, and it's basically a group of all GT owners, and it's a group that donates and does charity for cystic fibrosis. So all their, proceeds go to support cystic fibrosis, and a
Wow,
bunch of GT car owners get together. So Diane and I were up in, we were based up on Lake Chattooga in Hiawassee, for 3 days this past spring. And we had a little bit of rain, a little bit of sunshine, but it was 124 GT cars there.
Wow.
It was a fantastic experience.
What a palette of colors.
Yeah,
and
it was
excitement,
amazing.
Right?
Yeah,
with all these cars.
And the guys that put this together, it just started out with some guys just having fun one weekend up in the mountains, and now here you got 124 cars. There are people from Seattle, Washington, California, New Jersey, New York, all the way down to Florida. So you had cars from all over the United States get together and obviously share a like mind, a camaraderie, and good times. And so it's about the driving, about the social event, of course. They raised $750,000 for cystic fibrosis.
Wow, that's fantastic.
So it was so you have great fun. And so anyway, Diane and I are going up, do another little event with about 8 cars here in a few weeks. So I'll leave it up there in the mountains for a couple weeks and go up there again.
Wow.
So, here in Florida, we don't have too many mountain roads. I found a few of them, but
you got to head up there.
Not quite as much
So what's
fun
the deal? Is someone in cahoots with the local leaders, the mayors, the sheriffs? You pay them off to stay away. So
let's just say they gave a nice little donation. We didn't see any cops for 3 days up there, but no, it's very organized. They obey the most traffic laws, and they're all about safety, having a good time. There are a lot of rules, and if you misbehave, you're out of the group. So everybody, is there for a good time. But let's just say they plan like 20 routes, 15 routes for all 124 cars. So some people went with groups, some people did their own thing. So anyway, we made a lot of great friends. Actually, one of our local Florida members here connected me with organizers and got me in with them. So we donated a hotel stay at our Grand Bohemian Hotel in Asheville for one of the donations. So that was fun too. So anyway, it's a good event. We'll do more of those.
Well, so tell us a little bit about the business. I know you mentioned that a little bit earlier. So what's the business? Tell me a little bit about Kessler Collection.
Yeah, so we're a family business. We're an owner, operator, developer of luxury 5-star boutique hotels. We have our own brand called the Grand Bohemian. We're affiliated with Marriott through the Autograph Collection. We actually launched that for Marriott in 2010 with 7 of our hotels, and now that brand, they call it a soft brand, is up to about 110, 120 hotels across the world. So we started that with Marriott 9 years ago, and we're building two Marriott Autographs right now and one JW Marriott, Greenville, Charlotte, and Savannah, Georgia. And Dinah's head of our interior design, so she's doing all the interior design.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
Well, that makes it.
So my joke is I'm her boss from 9 to 5. After that, it's fair game,
Well, that's cool. So you get to enjoy Porsche. You get to enjoy business together.
Right.
And I hear that there is a connection with the business and Porsche as well.
Absolutely. So Diane and I have been doing track days, DE days. Started out with my M3 with when we were dating with Florida Citrus PCA group back, what year was that? 2008, I think it was, with my M3. And here we are, 11 years later, still doing DE events together. So long story short, I had one of my driving coaches work for the Barber Motorsports Group, and we started talking about a hotel we're building in Birmingham, and the Porsche Group was currently going to another hotel there in Birmingham, not as convenient. So long story short, I worked with that driving instructor, met the guys that ran it at the time. We developed some meeting space to make sure we fulfilled the needs, and then we went through an interview and an RFP process with Porsche and the guys, the group from Germany and Atlanta, and we ended up getting that contract when we first opened 4 years ago. So now we're in the 4th year of that contract with Porsche. So if you go do the Porsche driving experience at Barber Motorsports Complex, we're the host hotel.
Oh, cool.
And so you stay there for a night or two, and we like to, it's been a great partnership, and look forward to continuing that. Yeah.
See, there's just another example. You hear it all the time. It's about the people and connections and friendships that you make.
So I was just mentioning Mark. So through all of that, when we were working on the Mountain Brook project, we met our friend Grady, who is also a Porsche fan, and he's really into track day, PCA racer, and he does all of our kitchen consulting and kitchen designs. So we met him through Porsche. So it's definitely a great network of friends, friendships, business, and it's just, a wonderful camaraderie.
Yeah, it's great when you can.
I can write the next GT3 RS as a business expense, I think, right?
Hey, you're in. That's awesome. Very cool. So, how many weekends out of the year are there people at the driving school, at the Porsche Performance Driving School?
I'm not sure how many weekends, but they have I know 150 events a year, and then they've since done a little, infield kind of smaller half-day course. But they used to have 150. It's probably more than that now, and it's really limited by the amount of track time they could get from Barber Motorsports. So, we have I forgot how many room nights they commit a year. I don't have that off the top of my head, but it's very substantial. Yeah.
Wow. So it's been great fun for you. It's been great for the business. You're helping Porsche out. You're helping all the folks who like to go up there and drive their cars.
Yeah.
So what's better?
It's wonderful.
That is just really cool, and all out of just a simple conversation and some Porsche fun.
And now I have to tell you real quick. So obviously we're here with the Porsche, but the track days all started when 11 years ago with my E46 M3, which was an awesome car. I just got it. It was a CPO car. A guy in our office was a PCA racer. Said, "Have you ever taken it to track?" I said, "No, I never even heard of that. What is it?" So about a month later, I did a track day with the Florida Citrus Club in my E46 M3, and I had that car for 4 or 5 years and did all the upgrades to it and couldn't go fast enough, brake hard enough, and I kept hearing guys talk about a GT3, that's the best track car you could have. So okay, I guess I need one of those. How do I get one of those? So I worked a little harder and traded in sold my E46 M3 and found one in Texas pre-owned. I wanted it as a track car, and so we got that car December 2012. And we had that car for, I think, 6 years. So we actually sold it right before we got the white 2018. We put 8,000 track miles on that car.
Wow.
Never skipped a beat. Skipped a beat.
So what color was that car?
It was black on black. Yeah.
Black on black.
Yeah, and it was a track car. I already had the seats, the roll cage. Oh, then I had 3 sets of wheels. I had the OEM wheels. I had I had 3 track wheels. I had black wheels with it, red wheels, and then satin like a platinum. So depending on what kind of mood I was
in. So that's
in,
where all the track stuff for Porsche started.
That's where it started. And that car was just. And we had Ron Zitza was our coach, fantastic coach, and of course she was his favorite between the two here, of course, naturally. But he was a great coach to us and really got us comfortable with that car. I said, hey, look, this is a totally different car, so I wanted to get a coach, and so Ron was our coach for many years.
Okay, so the 2 cars you have now, are these co-owned, or is the white one yours and the red one his, or what's the deal with that?
It depends who you ask.
What's that?
It depends who you ask.
Okay, well, I want to hear it from you.
Well, we share everything, so
okay, good.
I suppose it's a shared thing, but
okay, cool.
The car knows who loves it more.
Well, perfect. So, who wants to tell me about this GT3 RS and how this came to be? Was this a dream car, or did this just sort of fall in your lap kind of situation, or how did it all happen?
Are you ready for a good story?
What?
Are you ready for a good story?
I'm ready.
So we had only had the GT3, the white one, for about a year. Fortunately and unfortunately, our office is directly next door to your dealership.
Oh, that's
where
a
you
shame.
work,
That's
right?
a shame.
So I had a couple construction tours, and I'd always told Chris, I said,
we call it Mark's other office.
it's my other office where I go on lunch breaks. So if you need anybody to work for free, I'll work for free over there. Anyway, I would go over there on lunch breaks and whatnot. Anyway, a buddy of mine was over there one day, and I had told Chris months before that, I said, Chris, if you ever get any GT3 RSs one day, I'd love to possibly, acquiring one. So my friend was over there visiting a friend on a Friday morning about 11 a.m., and he sent me a text message. He was near my office. I said, what are you doing? He goes, oh, I'm visiting my buddy over here at the Porsche dealership. I said, all right, I'll be right over just to say hi. So I walked in to say hello. Chris is standing there next to my buddy. He's like, Mark, come over here. You need to get in my office right now. I said, what did I do, Chris? He goes, we've got 5 GT3 RSs. One of them's got your name on it. You got 3 minutes to make a decision. I said, oh, dear Lord, I'm not ready for this, but let's go. So needless to say, I had to be white, right? He had a silver, 2 whites, and a red. Of course, we're sitting next to a red one. So the long and short of it is I talked to Diana. After I'd done a bunch of research, I confided with my buddy Grady. He's like, do it, He's like, do it. Like, huh? Who? Oh, her brother said do it. And Diana got in late to the game. I came back to work with a big, huge smile on the face. She knew I was up to something. I went and showed her the car. She said, I don't know, that red's a little flashy. I don't know. We really want white. I'm like, yeah, the white's not quite my build, so we'll just forget about it. She called me a half hour later. She goes, babe, I know you really wanted that car. You should just get it. Needless to say, we kept her GT3, traded her, gave her mom her Mercedes, took her mom's Mercedes in on trade, and that's how we got
And
this
made it
car.
happen, and that was
there
it.
we go. Friday afternoon, signed the paper for this, and
Isn't that awesome?
It was an innocent
You know-
Friday morning when I woke up.
You know, it's difficult to buy one of these new, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, they're in such
Right.
short demand.
Right.
You know, everything's got to be aligned. Can you imagine 5 years ago even that you would have the largest Porsche dealership known to man right next door to your office, and that scenario would play out, that you would find that car at a place like that's just it's unbelievable.
It is unbelievable. And when I drive to work every morning, we share the same driveway with you guys. I just have to look the other way when I pull in. Yeah, my everyday driver is a Cayenne, which I love that car, and it's a perfect between a sport utility, obviously, and a sports car.
Yeah.
So this is just like a weekend fun car. But yeah, I just have to usually keep driving. But I come see you and see the team over there, and
Yeah.
Tom and everybody, but yeah, it's definitely nice to have it over there.
Wow, what a
Yeah.
great story. That is
Yeah.
just so cool. So, anything else that you guys want to share about your Porsche experience? You've done a lot of things together, it sounds like, with these cars, with people. Is there anything else that you guys like to share with us that's something special that, maybe it'll inspire somebody or just, put a smile on somebody's face?
I think it's the friends that you make and the friends you continue to make through this, through the ownership of Porsche, and the experiences that you have together, the lifestyle of it. There's just something about it that it's just the people that you meet are usually very humble, and they have a true passion for cars.
Yeah.
It's like they don't have it because the name. While the name is a beautiful name, it's for the passion, the love of the vehicle that we get to drive. It's so much more.
Yeah.
And just creating those memories together, and
That's great. I can feel it. I can
Yeah.
see it. That's awesome. It's in there. That's awesome. Well, thanks so much, guys. I just can't thank you enough for coming on. It's always fun to talk to people who are passionate about the brand, who are just having a blast, with their cars and with people. So we hope to see you around the deal. Maybe we'll see you around the dealership.
You bet.
Another
Absolutely.
time, another day.
You will.
I see him around there more, so stop in, say hello to us as well.
he's making me work all the time.
Okay, well, all right.
I'm stuck in the office
Well, you
working
got to
while
work
he
that
comes
out.
and plays with you guys.
You got to work that out. All right, guys. Well, again, thanks so much for sharing the car with us. What a great backdrop. Look at it. I mean, we got these
Very cool.
monitors out here, and we can see it. Check that out. Isn't that pretty cool?
Very
cool
cool,
stuff.
very cool.
So, I think that's going to wrap us out of this month's show. If you're ever in the Orlando area, we're out here on the third Monday of every month at the Ace Cafe. The Ace is just a tremendous place to come out and share bikes, cars, and rock and roll. There's always something going on at the Ace, whether it's Porsche, whether it's motorcycles, whether it's hot rods, it's Fords, you name it, it's happening out here. There's great music, great food, and great fun. So, tell your friends about Ace, tell your friends about Porsche Night, and until next month, we'll see you next time.
Thanks, Brian. Thanks, PCA. Thanks, Ace Cafe. Appreciate it.